What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video, we're going to cover where to invest your SR lattices or lattices. I don't know how to say it, chat. It's not my first language. It's fine. Lattices, lattices, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to cover the SR characters and where should you be investing your SR lattices in the beginning of the game or early on in the game for the maximum amount of progression. The first character we're going to cover is Gray. Gray is a character that I am a huge fan of. I apologize for him for neglecting him during the beta, but he is an invaluable character to have. And for him, essentially, you have two options, and this is my recommendation. So for me, for example, I chose, let me go on to prowess. For me, I chose to max out the S3 and the S2. I do recommend for everybody to invest in Gray in the S2 and the S3, which are these two skills. You have two options here, which are either max the last node of each skill or not. Like you can leave this without the skill reductions, but what you don't want to do is upgrade one and not the other. The reason you want to do that, the reason you don't want to do that is because Gray's cooldowns match with each other, and then whenever you do your S3, you immediately take a turn and you rotate into your S2, you rotate into your S3. So if you have them on the same amount of cooldown, then they will reset one after the other, and you will not waste any turns of cooldown there. So you either upgrade them all to the max at the same time, or you don't upgrade them at all. So I chose to upgrade them both because with the extra 1 turn cooldown, Gray is just shooting out the defense reduction and the crit rate buff pretty much very often. Like every 3 turns, he's just shooting it out, does a lot of damage in Doki Doki, so it's very, very beneficial in my opinion. The next character we're going to talk about is Marvel. I just recently started using him because I did pull Mio in the beginning of the game, so I haven't really needed to use Marvel, but I just recently started using him because he does have some things that just Mio just doesn't have. For example, the speed down and the res down, which is very, very important. And this is where the investment in lattices comes into play. You can no longer reduce Marvel's cooldowns. He's going to be on 5-turn cooldown regardless of what you do. So the course of action for him would be to build him on like a time weave if you can, or build him with the penguin shell to reduce the cooldown for 1 turn, and that way you can get him up to 4 turns. Now, as far as his prowess goes, because you can't reduce the amount of cooldowns, I don't recommend getting it all the way down here because 30% as it is at the turn meter manipulation is pretty strong. So I would just recommend getting up to here, or maybe just up to here, because 100% of speed down and res down is actually very, very good and very clutch. It makes it to where you don't miss it. For example, in Nico Nana, which is what I'm farming right now, you have to land the speed down for you to do decent damage to Nico Nana. So this is actually very, very strong. So I would just recommend getting it up to here. The reason I haven't done it yet is because before I started using Marvel, I started using another character, which we're going to talk about a little later. Actually, we can just hop onto it right now. And that character is Ditting. So Ditting is one of the hardest hitting single target damage dealers we have in the game. I think Chloros is the best one by far, but Ditting is very, very strong. For an SR unit, he's just one-shotting. I just saw a video from my good friend Materia. He did Nico Nana in 15 seconds with Ditting on Bayotin and some other stuff. Very, very interesting. I'll leave the link in the description if you guys want to see it, but insanely high DPS burst character here. The thing with him is that you do need a lot of investment. So his S2 makes it to where his crit rate conversion goes to 1.5, and you also get 10% extra crit rate. So essentially, he'll do a lot more damage if you have this maxed out to the marked enemy, right? And he always marks an enemy at the beginning of the turn, so you're always going to be doing extra damage. So this is the most important thing in my opinion. After that, you're going to want to max out pretty much all of it, but if I were to pick one, I would probably pick the S3, which is what I'm working on right now. The thing is that you do need a lot of these GP outposts like imprints, and I just don't have enough. Then I would rather farm something else, and then when we get the double XP, I'll probably farm the rest of this, or I'll farm it slowly. It really doesn't matter to me. But maxing this out will reduce the S3 cooldown by 1 turn, making it in a 3 turn. And if you have somebody like Bayotin, for example, you can reduce the cooldowns even further, or like Tsukiyomi can reduce cooldowns even further. Lily makes this inconsequential because you can just reset the whole thing, but it doesn't matter. But having it on a 3 turn on longer fights, it's very, very good. But since Ditting is a character that just wants to end the fight as fast as possible, you're probably never gonna make it the whole 4 turns. So you may actually just be okay just leaving it like this and increase his chance of follow-up at 100%, because this is pretty much the most important thing, because after he shoots up the S3, he has a 100% chance of shooting an S1, which is where you're going to want to put the last part of your investment, because if you max out this S1, you're going to not only be able to land a 2-turn invulnerable, but you're going to have the increased multiplier to 260%, which is quite a lot. Like this is a lot. And then 260% multiplier skill coming right after a, what is this, 480%? 450%? So 450 plus 260, that's like 720-ish. Or 710-ish multiplier just on a burst. And also I run him on the battle wheel sometimes. So if you actually trigger that, you can fire 2 of these. So it's actually very, very strong, very potent amount of damage if you can land all those things. So Diding is a very, very strong boss killer that I vouch for entirely. He's just destroying every single boss that you have in the game. So if you have him, investing in him is a really, really good idea. Another character I want to discuss is going to be Dena. And Dena is pretty much the lowest investment character that it's probably in the game. You don't have to run anything on her. I did this because I don't want her to just die to like whatever hit. I may just end up doing like up to here to get more defense, but you don't necessarily need all of this. Like this is beneficial if you have the extra lattices and you don't have anybody else to upgrade. Getting the S3 maxed out is pretty good because this is the only skill you're gonna do, and you don't even have to get this one. Just get it up to here. Actually, you just get it up to here. If you just invest into these two, your S3 is going to be extremely, extremely potent. You're going to land more erosions. And if you want to invest a little more, you can also go here and then increase the chance of inflicting erosion up to 80%. And that's going to be okay. But you can run her with literally 0 lattices or lattices, and she will work phenomenally well. So this is a very, very low investment, high reward type of character. The next character I want to talk about is going to be Kazuyo Reviere. This is the green Kazuyo. There's a red one that's a healer. Not that one. Oh no, there's a red one that has a dispel, but not that one. I'm talking about the green one. She's very, very good for Doki Doki farming, right? You only want to max out her S3. This makes it to where her AoE, CC, and attack down is available every 3 turns. And if you run her on the Penguin, or you run her on Halloween, or run her on Time Weave, you can have this pretty much every other turn. And this is going to make your Doki Doki runs insanely easy, but not because you are going to be applying the CC more often, but also because you are going to be inflicting this attack down. And this attack down, if you've done Doki Doki, you know that those monsters just one-shot you sometimes. So it's very, very good. And then being able to just fire this off is extremely, extremely strong. Now, if you don't have character like Marvel, if you don't have a character like Mio or Kraken, you may want to also invest in her S2, because her S2 makes her also a very potent turn manipulator and pushback character. If you max this out, she will have 100% chance to inflict turn meter steal by 10% per hit while the enemies are in slumber. So if in your ultimate, since your ultimate you have, not ultimate, in your S3 you have 3 hits, if the first hits less than slumber, the next 2 hits are going to essentially turn meter manipulate the enemy, and you can reduce them by up to, I think, what is it, 30%? Up to 30% with the 2 hits. So it's really, really good. And then if they're sleeping already and you hit them, you're also going to do this again. The S1 also sleeps. So if they're already sleeping, you can also reduce their turn meter again that way. So Kazuyo, very, very good. S3 minimum investment, in my opinion. You will not regret doing that. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is my boy Kraken. Kraken is very, very good. The only thing is that you want to reduce his cooldown because he is on a 5-turn cooldown on his AoE freeze and pushback. So you are going to want to reduce this to 4 turns and also run him on the Penguin, Halloween, or Time Weave, so you have access to this AoE freeze more often. This is pretty much the minimum investment I recommend on Kraken. So if you are using Kraken, putting 4 lattices on Kraken would be a very, very good idea. You don't need to touch the S1 or the S2 for that matter, and he will be fantastically well, especially in Doki Doki, where most people are going to be using him. So Kraken, S3, insanely strong. All right, the next one's going to be Victor. He's very similar to Diding in the sense that they have the similar job. They are just boss killers. The difference between Diding and Victor, well, Victor got a little bit of a nerf. However, he's still really, really strong. He still hits very, very hard. He is very tanky, very bruisey. So if you want a character that's more of a bruiser type of character that's not going to die as easily, Victor is your boy. You max out the S3 for the most amount of damage and shield conversion so he doesn't die. And then everything else should just fall into place, that you don't really need to invest in the S2 or in the S1 for that matter, because the S3 is where you're going to get most of your value in as far as Victor goes. So he's very, very strong. Build him DPS, and he will do fantastically well. Again, him and Ditting, you're going to have to pick one or the other. I don't recommend building both, especially right now. I picked Ditting because Ditting didn't receive any nerfs, and he was already one-shotting the whole game. So that's why I picked Ditting. He does require more investment than Victor, but they both do the similar job, and they both do it really well. All right, another sleeper character that not a lot of people are using is Valyrian. Valyrian is probably the best buff applier in the game, in my opinion. She applies, once she is in her ultimate state, or in her stance, I guess, her hazy dream, every time your characters take a turn, they will get a attack, defense, crit rate, or speed, depending on what they have already. And they're also going to get a basic a shield when she does enter the hazy dream based on her max HP, right? So this is very, very good, very, very strong. What this is going to allow you to do is keep your team alive. She also has a invincibility buff with a heal over time. But the important thing here is that for the S3, as far as lattices go, you want to start the fight with your hazy dream. So the thing is that if you don't start your fight off with a hazy dream, you're going to have to put your skill on cooldown, which is on 5 turns with no way of reducing it, right? You have no way of reducing the cooldown. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, so you're going to pretty much essentially get a free hazy dream at the beginning of the fight. So if you don't build her fast, if you build her kind of slow and let your team take turns before Valyrian can take her turn, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this. And then after that, you can go into your S3, activate it again for 2 turns, and you're still going to get all the benefits from having Valyrian in that state. So if you are using Valyrian, getting at least her S3 up is going to be the most beneficial thing. Yeah, she gets a lot of value from having this hazy dream on the S3. If you use her without it, it's going to feel really terrible. But as soon as you get this S3 maxed out, she's going to feel so much better, and she's going to perform extremely well. I'm going to cover the ones that I do have. There's a few SRs that I don't have currently, so I'll cover the ones that I have, and then we'll hop onto the ones that I don't have. Viper is a very, very good PvP player, and there's also some dungeons towards the end, or towards the later stage of the game, when you're farming Shadow Flame Hoyan, and when you're farming, what is the other one? There's another Grim Pursuit right before Shadow Hoyan. I don't remember her name, but he is very, very good for that one because he can dispel and counter as well. Viper is more of a PvP unit for sure, but if you are going to build Viper, building his S2 and S3 minimum, the S2 is going to allow you to fire off more counterattacks. It increases the counterattack rate to about 60% when you do receive a crit, and this is per crit instance. So if you get critted like multiple, let's say for example, you get hit with Rosa that she crits 3 times, every single crit hit will have a chance to trigger this, and that's very, very good, which makes it kind of guaranteed if you're critting the entire party. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very strong. And then the S3 is going to actually be the AoE hit that's going to deal the most amount of damage. It also has a dispel on it, up to 2 buffs that you're going to be able to dispel, and you're going to be able to fire it off every 3 turns. And it also has an attack up, an attack down, and a speed down, which is very, very good. Viper is also very good for Nico Nana, but I have Rosa for Nico Nana and Ditting for Nico Nana, so you don't really need to build him up. But if you are going to build him up, S2 and S3 minimum for the lattice investment. All right, next up is going to be Turnt. Turnt is another character that I don't see a lot of people using, and she is insanely good, right? Her S2, if you max out her S2, you're going to do an attack that deals 4 hits, and each hit is going to have a 20% chance to decrease the turn meter by 20%, and 30% to dispel 1 buff. So for example, Terramaton starts off with like immunity and stuff like that to prevent him from being one-shotted. So if you do run Turnt, you are going to have a large chance to dispel that immunity, and also reduce his turn meter by up to, if you max this out, is up to 100% turn meter manipulation. So you can pretty much reset him essentially. And at the same time, you're also dispelling buffs. So this S2 is actually insane for a lot of the bosses that later on in the game are going to give themselves buffs, immunity buffs, attack up buffs, whatever buffs they give themselves. She's going to be able to get rid of with this S2 and allow you to do your thing. She's incredibly good for Terramaton. I don't think anybody's really looking into her because there's so many other options like Marvel, for example. But she is really strong when you need a dispeller and a turn manipulator. So if you are going to build Turnt, the S2 is very good. Honestly, you don't need the whole chance of dispelling, but the chance of turn meter to 30% is really good. Actually, I would get all of it. If you are going to build Turnt, just build the S2. You don't have to touch the S3 because the S3 is just an attack up and defense up, which you are going to pretty much do as soon as you start the fight. And then the S1 is nothing crazy. You get an accuracy up buff, so you really don't have to invest in either S1 or S2. The S1 or S3. The S2 is the most important one and is a very, very strong skill. All right, the last one before I go to the characters I don't have is Fangus. Fangus is very niche. Fangus is you're going to have to upgrade the S1 and the S2. The S2 makes it to where you have a 50% chance to follow up every time that you do a damaging skill, and each follow up is going to be the S1. And then if you max out the S1, you have a 35% chance of inflicting a dot, and the more dots you inflict on the enemy, the more damage you're going to be able to do with your Shadow Sonia. I know a lot of people are not using Shadow Sonia right now, but when Inferno comes, she is one of the best Inferno farmers because of her dot applications when paired up with Fangus, for example. You get a lot of dots into bosses in like 1 or 2 turns, and then Shadow Sonia can just explode them and erase their HP bar. So if you are looking into the dot playstyle, then Fangus is a very, very good character to have. The only thing is you are going to need about 8 lattices for it, which could be expensive at this state of the game. But later on in the game, if you are looking into this playstyle, this is what I would do. I would do S1 and S2. The S3 you don't have to really max out because this just applies the speed down and dot for 100%. The speed down is there for you to be able to land more dots before they take their turn. So if anything, just put 2 lattices in this one. Put 2 lattices in the S3, and then the other 2 you can just max out, and you should be good to go. All right, now onto the characters I don't have. I didn't pull a copy of Mizuki Makoto, but essentially for her, you want to max out her S2 first because this will allow her to enter the battle in retaliation state, which will allow her to do a counter at 100% efficacy, and also apply a wound. So this will be like pretty much like a hard counter to Tiamat, for example. If Tiamat does the taunt, then she will do the counter, apply the wound to Tiamat. She can't heal. She's kind of screwed. Now, also there's bosses that also heal. So this would be very good for those type of bosses. And then you also want to max out the S1 because she will counter with this. And this is a 300% of her defense scaling, which is a very, very good or high amount of scaling with a 50% chance to dispel a buff on hit. And if you are countering every single time you take a hit, there's going to be a lot of dispelling being done with this character. The S3 just gives you a defense up, which is really, really good. Amplifies your damage, but you don't really need this more than a 4-turn cooldown. You shouldn't need it that much. Like realistically, if you're doing RTA, you're doing PvP and stuff like that, the fight should be over. And if you're going for a longer fight, then you probably have some other ways to deal with the 2 turns that you're not going to have the defense up. But essentially S2 and S1 are the most important. S2 the most important, S1 after that. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about Shiaki the Echo. She is very, very good. She's one of the best turn manipulators, and essentially here you want to max out her S2 because her S2 is going to allow the her buffing to stack or to spread to 3 enemies or to 3 allies instead of just 2. When you start off, this is instead of 3 random allies is going to be 2, and if you run a 4-man team, it's going to be 75% of your team, and she can land it on herself. She can waste her own buff, but the thing is that if she takes another turn, let's say she takes a turn right here, she's going to apply the Ave Maria or the attack up to someone, and then as soon as she does this attack, she's going to apply it. So essentially everybody should have it. If you have this maxed out, everybody should have at least the attack up once you do this skill right here. And then most of them, at least if you're unlucky, you're going to get one character that doesn't have the Ave Maria, but that's about it. So maxing out this S3 is the most important thing. She's one of the best turn manipulator or turn buffers in the game. Not turn buffers, turn meter buffers in the game. She has like a 20% turn meter increase, and then 5% whenever everybody that has Ave Maria takes a turn, which adds up. It really, really does add up. In my opinion, she is probably the best turn manipulator in the game because this applies to the entire team. But you need Ave Maria to land on everybody on the team to take full effect, and this allows it to happen pretty much consistently. I think I have one more character that I didn't talk about, and that's going to be Sonia. I do have Sonia, but here you just want to max out the S3 because you're going to reduce this to 4-turn cooldowns, and this not only reduces the cooldown of the regular skill, the healing skill, it also increases the healing efficacy of the skill, and also if you end up reviving a character with this skill, because she does have a revive, your cooldown for that is going to be reduced as well. So this makes it very, very strong for the survival, tanky, bruisey type of comps, especially when you're running a character like Tiamat, like Viper, stuff like that. So very, very strong character. If you are going to build this character, I don't recommend it because we do get Ling Luo later on. But if you are going to invest lattices in Sonia, I would do the S3, for example. Yeah, I would do the S3 for sure. And that is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Was this video helpful at all? Do you like this type of content? Put it in the comments. Until next time, guys. See ya.